Where you from? Man, I'm from down in the valley.
I got people trying to wish and pray that I'ma fall about it, all about it till we spoke in person. Don't wanna talk about it now, huh? Oh, you sound tough, toying with them, don't get wound up. How you wound up? Another number in the round up. Put the town up, built the sling up.
You mean like San Antonio? Nah, man, farther.
Got the east side flow. I'm a giant in the space like FIFA. All the kids
V's up, player.
Every time when they see my show, thinking that it happened overnight.
Let's start the show, Wattis.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Danny with Down in the Valley Sports, and we're back to talk a little bit of UTRGV football. We're coming out of the first quarter of the year, going into spring. We just actually finished the first week of spring practice, and we're a few weeks away from the spring game coming up. What, April 11th? Correct me if I'm wrong, Roy.
Yeah, April 11th is spring game, and we
All
got
right.
the open practice coming up, which is pretty cool with the kids camp before it, I believe. So that's going to be cool too.
Yeah, be sure to buy your tickets, get out there and watch our Vaqueros, play a little football. It's an early preview to what we might see this upcoming fall. And with that, we're wondering a few things. We have maybe some big questions going into 2026. So I wanted to cover those with you, Roy. Last year the offense ran through Eddie Lee Marburger, Tony Diaz, and all that production's gone. I think my last tweet about it mentioned like over 4,000 yards of production, over 40 touchdowns. Like that is a lot of offensive production. So, it kind of begs the question, who's going to be the face of the offense in 2026?
Yeah, what is? I think that's the biggest question, right? Because our offense was so, I think it was a premier offense, right? We were ranked in the top of a lot of different metrics. We had experience at the quarterback position. Denny, experienced guy from Yale, came in and was solid after the first few games and really was an anchor. But to me, I think the face of the offense, or who's the face is whoever wins the QB1 position, right? I think that's the biggest question and the face. I mean, we got three good guys, and I think whoever does that is going to be the face. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the fairly obvious answer, right? The quarterback is one of the toughest positions or most important positions in all of sports. And so, you look at someone like Aiden, who's already got a year under his belt in this offense, got playing time behind Eddie Lee. And then you have Garrett, who Coach Bush has communicated that has knowledge of the offense. And so at this point, it's just a matter of building chemistry within the new personnel, right? You got Jaden, who I think goes by JC Smith. He played with Aiden in Ingleside. You got Alex Green, a known playmaker coming out of high school. So he seemed to have already built relationships with some of the quarterbacks on his visits. So that's really what I'm hoping to see in that open practice and spring game, to see if there's some chemistry being built. But yeah, I mean, Tony Diaz was the boogeyman, right? Like he was at the Southland Conference, media day, sitting there along Coach Bush. So, obviously that'll be our tell going into media day, who Coach Bush selects to sit with him from the offense. And the other thing is this battle,
Good point.
that quarterback battle is gonna go on through fall camp. He's not gonna announce a quarterback coming out of spring. You want them to continue working out together through the spring, through the summer, 7-on-7 type of activities. So I think the obvious answer is the quarterback. Who wins that quarterback battle? But we have some key players coming back at running back too. I mean, I really like what TJ Dement did behind Denny while he was hurt. I know he's a little undersized, but man, he put up some good stats. The running back room, could be the face of the offense, right? While the quarterbacks and wide receivers are trying to figure stuff out. I mean, they only lost about 43% of the production of the rushing yards. And that's Marburger included, because we knew he liked to escape the
Yeah.
pocket and make some plays. But yeah, quick answer is quarterback, but Maybe there's a wide receiver playmaker like Tony that emerges as well, or a running
You know
back.
what's interesting that we don't know about Coach Bush is he that guy that does not want to announce a starter earlier?
Hmm.
Right? A lot of coaching philosophy will say let them compete all the way up until fall camp, let it go all the way up to maybe, a week or two before the first game. There's some coaches that do that, right? There's some coaches that say, you know what, we're going to make somebody the man early and
Hmm.
we're going to make them in the summer be the man,
Hmm.
right? So we don't know. I mean, this is Coach Bush first head coaching job. As a head coach, we don't know his mentality. This is going to really dictate how he does things in the future. Because usually, in my opinion, a lot of coaches stay within the lane, right? If they're like they want to announce early, they do it early, and they always do that. If they want to announce later, it's later. Then we got Chavez, right? He's the one that I know we'll do another show about getting in depth with these guys, but Chavez is a guy that has a lot of talent, athletic guy, and that can come in and push Aiden and Garrett. So yeah, you're right. We did lose a lot. We have some players, and then the receivers we don't know. I mean, we have some proven guys. We have Tavion Cord and Kyron Lee that actually
Hmm.
did get some burn last year. And they
Yeah.
had a couple touchdowns, a couple receptions. They weren't the main guy, right? So, you got to mix those guys in with the potential of Alex Green, who hasn't, put it on tape at the college level yet, right? And
Hmm.
then you got Jaden Smith, that also is someone that has potential, but we don't know yet. And then we got Cameron Glenn, right? That's another player that was on the team. So the receiving core, if we get a quarterback that that can get them the ball, right, and maybe they don't put up the stats that Eddie put up, one of these receivers is going to have to break out.
Yeah.
You're going to need it, right? So I think that all of those guys are going to have a chance to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Big opportunity for a lot of people with open competition. And one clarification about Coach Bush, he has been a head coach at the high school level.
High school, yeah, not
Yeah,
college yet.
yeah. This is the D1 FCS level. Like every good coach, which Coach Bush is an amazing head coach, he will adapt to his personnel, right?
Hmm.
And he's going to call different offensive schemes and plays based on the strengths of his players. That's what every good head coach and offensive coordinator does. So, good conversation surrounding the offense. Let's
I got
move on.
one more throw in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
The
What you
me
got?
to me, like all of it's good. Quarterback, running back, receiver, glory. I get
Mhm.
it. But my trench dogs, to
Yeah.
me, that is going to be maybe not the face of the offense, but the motor of the offense. It's going to
Mhm.
be extremely important that they develop this offseason. They
Mhm.
get bigger, right? They're
Mhm.
able to move people more. Because if we can do that, it's going to lend us to the other questions of the season
Mhm.
because we can't do it without that line. So, although they might not be the face, I think they're the most important because you have a good line, you're going to have a good running game,
Mhm.
right? You have a good line, you're going to get your quarterback some more time to be able to
Mhm.
read the defenses, go maybe check down to the second and third one. So, just wanted to throw that out there also.
That's a fair comment, right? They're the engine under the hood that are moving the truck, right? Don't want to disregard the significance of the offensive line and the role they can play. So great comment. So with that, putting a bow on the offense, let's move on to the second question. Is the defense about to become the strength of the team?
I would say they were last year without, right? Because if you put the statistics up and see what they did, they led the conference in turnovers margins, right? When it came to
Yeah,
creating turnovers, they
yeah,
only allowed 18 to 19 points a game for the year, right? They
yeah.
had two guys over 90 tackles,
Hmm.
right? They had some defensive backs and safeties that were all over the field. So although we didn't think they were the strength last year, if you remember, some of those second half wins came from the defense creating momentum.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think they're already the strength of the team, and I think that they brought in players to go along with Spencer, T.J. Neal, Elijah Prosser, Jamarcus Anderson, and
Hmm.
Ian Box, the hoodie gangster. Right?
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
that guy coming back. We haven't. I feel like that's an undercover guy that can go from a couple sacks to 10. right? And if you get that guy, to me, that they might be the star already.
Yeah, yeah. Hearing some of the responses to interviews so far in the spring game from TJ Neal, like you
Yeah,
mentioned, he mentioned wanting to create more turnovers. You know, the turnover margin, I want to say was positive or fairly high, but it's something that he saw he wanted to do, right, and take on a leadership role. You know, and I'm sure the defensive line wants to do the same, right, in terms
yep.
of forcing fumbles, so turnovers and pass rush improvement, and that might come in our guy Josh Casciola, right? You know,
I
Cash
was hoping
money.
you said it, baby, because that's another
Yeah,
one.
yeah, pass rush specialist coming off the edge, has got that little jump cut swim move, has the bull rush in his repertoire of and arsenal of weapons there. So we were already a top Southland defense. You know, to your point, from a points allowed perspective, we're top two. I was just looking up last year's stats, and not to sleep on the offense. I know we just covered the offense, but we were number one at 39.6 points per game. So we were top ranked at the top of the conference. Shout out to that 2025 team. It's going to be some big shoes to fill. A special inaugural season. So which of those veteran defenders are you really looking for? Because you got Haygood, right? You got Richie Rich, your boy Richie Rich.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want to sleep on corners either, like Dorian Blackwell, who got another year of eligibility, right? I
yeah,
mean, and then you got Ife, coming out of Montana State,
yep.
leader in the secondary that's going to come and impart his wisdom and learnings from that championship run that Montana State went on, right?
Yeah, I mean, just think about what we just talked about, right? Do you feel more comfortable after what we just said with the offense or the defense? We're
Yeah.
dropping stats, we're dropping names. Where I mean, the offense, we got one big position to get a new player in, right? We got to get a running back to step up, right? We got to get we're talking about our linebacker crew is all conference.
Yeah.
Right? Our defensive backfield is our turnover machines. The guy that I'm most excited about, along with everyone, Prosser, 100%. I just feel like TJ Neal needs to get some love because the last four games, when I was doing those edits, my amateur attempt at doing edits, he was all over the place, man. The
Yeah.
guy, he puts his head in everywhere. He hits hard, has some big plays, created some. I think he had created a couple turnovers. I'm excited about TJ Neal, and I'd love to get him on the show. So TJ, if you're listening, we'd love to have you, man, because I think that would be a great interview just to hear his progression. But yeah, he's probably the one. And to me, the defense is the most proven unit on this team right now. To me, that's not even a question. But I think the ether has to hear it, right? And I think people need to understand because defense does what? It wins championships,
Hmm.
right?
It
Gamble,
does.
I'll carry Gamble off the in section 114 if he goes and allows 10 points a game, right? So that's what I'm working with.
Yeah, these transfer additions are complementary. We have a good core of defenders on the team coming back from last year that, based on, our stats and turnover performance, yeah, could continue to be special in 2026. So, having said all that about the offense and the defense, what is a realistic ceiling for UTRGV in year two?
Playoff game at the VAC, baby. Playoff game at the VAC is going to
Yeah.
be insane. I mean, we're talking ceiling, right? You got
Yeah.
three losses last year, all on the road: SFA, SLU, and Lamar. And then we have October 10th. SLU comes into the building, right? Plays
Mhm.
us at home. October
Yeah.
17th, we have UIW away. October 31st, we have Lamar at home. And then SFA is 11/14, November 14th. So that's a gauntlet of teams that's going to make or break us to see what we're going to do, along with, right, all these teams that we smacked, right,
Hmm.
last year that won us. UIW is one of them. We're going to
Hmm.
their house, right?
Yeah.
So McNeese, they're going to want us. East Texas A&M, they're going to want the smoke. These teams are going to come back and they're going to want their own revenge, and then we're going to be at their house,
Hmm.
right? So ceiling
Yeah.
to me is playoffs, right? But a quarterback hits, we're there. If we have an average quarterback showing, We might be in the middle, right? We have a quarterback struggle. We're pulling our starting quarterback after 2 games, and we're putting in another quarterback. We might have some issues there. So, from a ceiling standpoint, definitely playoffs, maybe 1 or 2 losses. UTSA is going to be a tough one. Let's say that's the one loss,
Mm.
and then if we can win all the other ones, right? We're in the playoffs and we're conference championships. So that's my opinion. What is where our ceiling is. But I do feel like our floor is a lot higher than people think,
Mm.
right? I feel like our floor might be 4 losses, like at worst. But
Mm.
you never know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to predict a record today, um, but I can see this team making the playoffs, and I think they're gonna they need to schedule one more game because
Oh,
the
Sac State.
the Sac State game is no longer in the picture, and we know now that the playoff committee in the FCS ranks is now going to prioritize like D1 games, right? So if you look at last year, they'd probably say we wouldn't have qualified, based on some of the opponents. But I still think that last year proved that we can perform because, like Zach McKinnell said, right, on FCS Central, like we still beat some big teams within the conference, right? Some really talented teams like Incarnate Word. We were competitive against SELU as well that made the playoffs. So I think the belief is there, and you hear some of the feedback from the players in the spring, and they want to make a championship run. So if they're shooting for the stars, right, and the land on the moon, that's okay, right? I think playoffs would be a good step in the maybe the direction that we want to be in competing for championships, right? Like you got to get there first. Yeah, last year was a good start. I think this could be another data point to show that we're trending in the right direction.
I got a
Um,
question for you.
mhm.
So, and I'm thinking about this in my head too. So, the games that we lost last year, Lamar, SLU, and SFA.
Mhm.
I know for sure SLU and SFA had some big runs that changed the course of the game.
Yeah,
There was one at SLU where I think we had it by, I think we were down 14, right? With some momentum in the third quarter. They sprayed that 50-yard run.
yeah,
Um, wh- if we're looking at where our gaps are and how we lost the games, I don't remember getting thrown on like crazy. Like,
yeah.
I don't remember somebody putting up 350 yards on us,
Yeah,
right?
and the same goes for the rushing. I know there were those explosive plays that you try to minimize, but for the most part, those were like one-off. If you watch the game and how it was progressing, like we were getting stops, and then the dam would break, right?
Yeah.
It was unfortunate, and I think you saw some of that too with some third and long conversions throughout the season.
Yeah,
But
that
but,
hurt.
but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pinpoint any games, but the other concern I have is there is a year of tape that now these teams have to study on us, and that goes for the teams that we beat as well. And I know we're going to want revenge against those teams that beat us. Um, yeah, but some would say that it was a talent, it was a strength, it was a size gap. You maybe saw a little bit of that. I think a lot of folks were commenting on that coming out of the SFA game. But I felt like the we were good enough to beat SELU. We should have beat Lamar, right? We were right there. Their kicker just nails
It's
50
crazy.
plus, and I think he did it twice because we tried to
He
ice him.
did.
So like I think the only game where it was clear that they were significantly better was that SFA team, but we can beat anyone else in this conference. And I know SFA just reloaded as well, but we get them towards the end of the season. So
Yeah. Second to last game, November 14th.
yeah, and the other you had mentioned like changing quarterbacks and stuff like that. I don't want our fans to prematurely judge the team based on the outcome against UTSA.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
That's going to be tough because they're going to. I mean, we don't know what the outcome of that game will be. I'm hoping and wishing for, a win, but like my buddy at work tells me, like hope is just a prelude to failure, right? Or
Yeah.
disappointment. I'm sorry, hope is just a prelude to disappointment, right? Don't get your hopes
Mm.
up. Know that you can do something. Don't hope you can do something. But
And that's
anyway,
week
yeah,
two. Week
that's
two,
me.
right? So we got UT Premium Basin, the D2 school, who, knock on wood, we should do, handle pretty well, right?
Hmm.
So we're going to have some momentum, hopefully. And then we're
Hmm.
going to San Antonio to figure out if we're going to get smacked in the mouth, right? And how we respond. So if we do lose, how do we get, we got a road game against Nichols. The next
Yeah.
game is a week later, right? So this is where the coaching comes in. This is where the off season, the work, the mentality, win today, all that stuff. Week 2 to week 3, we're gonna figure it out because either we're gonna be coming off a historic win at UTSA, right, and I might be streaking in the quad, or we're gonna be coming off a loss that probably hurts, and the
Yeah.
guys have to get back on the horse and go away to Nichols the next
Hmm.
game. So I'm excited for it. Just talking about it gets me pumped up. And I think there's going to be a lot more that we're going to talk about with depth charts, and we're going to do a lot more with that. But this is a good start.
Yeah, yeah. I think the team and the coaches take this 1-0 sort of mentality, like one rep, one activity, one game at a time. So I have a feeling no matter the outcome week by week, they're going to get up for every single game. So yeah, I'm excited to talk more about UTRGV football. I know right now we're covering mostly baseball. We just got done covering basketball. Shout out to them for having a historic season.
Yeah. The girls play
The
Thursday.
Yeah, the girls played Thursday. The athletic program really is on the come up. Shout out to Chase Kong for getting athletic director of the year. So yeah, I mean, we're on the come up. We're on the rise. For those of you watching, please like, follow, and subscribe. Put your questions in the chat. Maybe there's some other topics that you want us to cover. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bees up.
Let's go.